Hey there. We're here, and we're laughing. Can you see the back there? That's just supposed to be the sky. The whole week it was sunny. The one day we tried to take you around, it's not sunny. Let's show you. It is like that, super foggy and quite empty, the streets. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, let's start this. So there's a few people around, but not many. This is your driver, Sean. He's gonna take us today in our super van. This is Sir Osmond with the trip organizer license plate, and technically you'd be led to the van and we'd show you our super slidey doors and the nice interior. So if it's up to 7 of you, you can be seated in this lovely van. You obviously have bottled water waiting for you, and on a day like this when it's actually frosty and cold, you'd have your little blankets as well. So let's get this started. Oh God. Oh, thank you for opening the door. As you can see, we're like super unprofessional. So we're doing this handheld. We might invest into a little gimbal to have it a bit more smooth the next time around, but now you have to go with what we've got. I'm sorry. I shall turn the camera around again so you can see what we're doing instead of see me chatting. I need assistance with getting strapped up because I only have one hand available. Right, anyway, so we're in the new town of Edinburgh. We'll have just picked you up from your hotel or your Airbnb or wherever you were staying. I hope you can see well. Sean's still smiley with his little tweed hat. We were laughing about a video I saw on Graham Norton's yesterday where Emily Blunt was complaining that her husband John Krasinski looks too American with his baseball cap, and I can think of one or the other day when I said the same to Sean. Don't wear baseball hats, you look very Aussie. Wear tweed hats. She was saying the same. She was asking him to wear tweed hats. So yeah, we love this look on him. He looks like the perfect ginger Scot. Anyway, so we're going through the new town. We're on Abercrombie Place now. We'll try to at least show you a little bit of Edinburgh while we do this, because we're on top of things. Not really sure if the route around Arthur Sea is going to be open, in which case we would then have to walk it, which don't really want to impose on you because I am so breathless, like 17 weeks pregnant. I can't do a foot in front of the other without gasping for breath, so that would be very much fun. On the other hand, we're not so sure about how much views you'll get today, but anyway, now you've got a nice posty van. Here we go. This is a nice one. So for those who've been to Edinburgh, you will know about the private gardens that you can find dotted all along Edinburgh New Town. This was in the times, you know, remember the New Town was built around the years from 1780 to 1830. They were kind of finalized and finished, and those were the times when the ladies wore the big dresses. You know, you think Jane Austen, you got their look right. Soon there'll be a new television series on which is called I'll come back to that later. Kind of like Downton Abbey. The same guy has written the book, and he's now, and this was all filmed in Edinburgh. It plays in London, but the look is the same, so they filmed it here because it's nicer to see. Belgravia, perfect, thank you so much. Lots of our friends had been extras for that. So you can imagine on those streets we're driving along now, you'd have your horse carriages. These are the beautiful townhouses the rich and famous had at the times. And obviously when the ladies, probably the gentlemen as well, wanted to go for a little stroll, they needed bigger gardens rather than just your front and back garden, which most of these houses have as well, but they were for a completely different purpose. Whereas this is obviously for your strolling along, having a chat to your best friends and sipping on your tea. Probably your servants would come and serve you, so you needed like big huge gardens in order to be able to kind of breathe fresh air. And that's the other reason why these gardens were built in between all the housing in order to keep lots of green space available, because they already knew then, which we knew now, fresh air and green botanics are good for your health. This is why we're allowed in these terrible times, COVID times, to leave the house for once a day to breathe some fresh air. So we're coming up to the center of the new town now. We're turning into George Street in a minute, and you can see you cannot see the old town. Those who are familiar with the town, you'd know the view. You can see Victoria sitting on the arts gallery, but you can't, the National Gallery to be fair, and you cannot see the Assembly Halls behind it because of the fog. This is so typical for Scottish weather, isn't it? It turns within a day, normally within hours. So this, when I saw it this morning, I was like, nah, it'll be fine, it'll be sunny this afternoon, but nah, it's not. But yeah, that's Scotland for you. This is why we like ghost stories, because you can always imagine someone hopping out of the fog like that. And it's always a little bit eerie like that. So I was never really surprised why the Scottish people are such good storytellers. Yeah, George Street. So again, all of the new town was kind of really built to impress. So the English had finally gotten the upper hand, if you wish. I don't know, like they were kind of a joined kingdom by then. The Jacobite risings were completely quashed. The Scottish always felt a bit, had the chip on the shoulder, so the Londoners, or the English in that case, but mainly the Londoners, always felt they were something better. So the Scots really wanted to show them, well, look, we have money and we can build this. This is George Square, St Andrews Square. I was talking about George, so that's why. And the Melville statue in the middle. That would be another one of those originally private gardens, whereas now this one has actually been opened up for the city. It's been bought back by the city, so to say, so that the locals can actually use that as well. But not on a day like today. We're passing on towards the Scott Monument, again nice and eerie and huddled in fog. Walter Scott, you know, one of the big writers, you know, to the Germans I always say is the Scottish Goethe. They lived around about the same time, actually, and this monument is probably the biggest monument that has ever been built for an author, a writer. So that shows how famous he is. We're passing the Balmoral, which used to be the Waverley Hotel, like named after the train station it was kind of adjacent to. So that's a luxury hotel from which you would catch your trains. And the nice story, which probably you can't really see just now, is the clock at the top of it always goes 4 minutes fast so that the travellers don't miss their trains. And yeah, today nothing runs fast there. A photographer trying to catch the boarded up windows. Like, people are wondering if they went a bit overboard here, but everything's shut, and I think they just want to be as secure as they can, so they board it all up, as you can see. Number one as well, everything's shut and boarded. To the left we've got the Register House, and in front of that we've got the Wellington statue. So, oh, I'm so sorry, you can't see that just now, but if you can see it, well, I'm trying to show you without, can you go slow? Yeah, we always laugh about the horse because the tail is so big. It is, because otherwise the horse would probably tumble to the front. It just looks a bit unnatural with that tail, and so we always laugh about that. You see, there's still people running around, but not as many as you would normally have in this month of the year. Here you've got the new St James's Centre. Wow, they actually got quite far now, but the building has stopped for that as well, apparently. So let's see when that's going to be finished. It was supposed to be finished at the end of the year, wasn't it? Yes. Are we trying Calton Hill, or?
Yeah, we'll have a quick one.
We could have a quick run up Calton Hill. Again, you can't see a thing, but we might as well while we're there. By the way, I did say I brought my school teacher glasses so I could, and I don't know if I can see comments or something.
It's telling you who's on.
Yeah, I'll see. So we're passing St Andrew's House, which is a government building, and we're sneakily playing taxi and we're going up Arthur Seat. Or we're seeing we're taking an Invalid, which is in my case probably almost the same. So we're taking you up Calton Hill. That's written C-A-L-T-O-N Hill. A volcanic rock. We'll come to that later, because Edinburgh and surroundings have a lot of these volcanic plugs and rocks that are there for billions of years, like 200-300 billions of years they were created, and obviously like they still endured because of the hardened material that's so hard to break. And the Calton Hill was turned into kind of like another park for the Edinburgh society to kind of enjoy their afternoons, and they wanted it to look very Greek, classicist. So they tried to build a Parthenon, which I'm sure even if you've not been to Edinburgh you would have seen a picture of it, but you can't see it today, I'm sorry. Because it's there. Can you see the shadow of something? We'll go nearer to it, surely we'll see it then. Normally the views from here are absolutely amazing. You'd be able to see across the Firth of Forth, the body of water which is north of Edinburgh, which is a piece of sea if you went, which is like a fjord where the seawater kind of comes land inwards and is met with fresh water from the Forth. Aha, so here, nebulous, but it's there. That's, the Edinburgh Parthenon they were trying to build. You can see it's not completely finished. Lack of funding ended up being the problem here, so it was kind of like a locally funded project. The rich and famous gave their money, and then the money suddenly was gone, and they hadn't finished it yet, and then there was no further interest to finalize it, so they just left it as it is. So that was that. But nonetheless, even that one part which has been finalist looks really amazing. Let's quickly have a stop and I'll show you around. I've lost my name badge. Aha, it conveniently fell. It fell here. That's me. Okay, here we go. So, Arthur Seat. And, no, not Arthur Seat. We're on Calton Hill, and that's the Scottish Acropolis. And now we're looking at the Nelson Monument. And again, in sunnier days you would see that little time ball that's on the top that gives you the 1 o'clock sign. This ball has not been working for quite a while now, but the 1 o'clock gun is still working, and even in COVID times the 1 o'clock gun has been fired. And what you see in the back there, that's the observatory. And again, today is a very good day to explain why the observatory never really kicked off in its full what's the word I'm looking for?
Potential.
Potential, perfect, yeah. Because you can't see a fucking thing most of the days, so that's why they ended up using as an event space and something. And now it's kind of been turned into a collective arts gallery, which is really, really nice. So we thought we'll give you a bit more, because like I said, Arthur Seat will pretty much look the same in terms of views as in no views. So we thought we'll add this on to our little tour. You'll have a view of Sean. Well, we get back into the car and then we'll head over to Arthur Seat to see what we can find for you there. So I think I have to put on my glasses to read what you're saying. But yeah, oh okay, my assistant is strapping me up, thank you so much. So sorry, I can't speak and type, as you can see. Views are not so great. Right. So you see lots of people wandering around. Lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so Calton Hill, you know, when I see those little fiery things, holders, you know, Calton Hill is a very mystical place when it comes to what is the 1st of May dancing
Solstice.
Huh?
Solstice.
No.
May Day.
No. The heathen, you probably know what I mean. The sorry?
Pagans.
Yeah, the pagan festival in at the end of April into May, that obviously always takes place on Beltany, of course. Beltany Festival takes place on Calton Hill. And for Hogmanay, we've got the fires, the torch marches that used to go here. I think they've changed it a little bit because there wasn't enough space on Calton Hill to accommodate all the masses that want to participate in it. But you can totally imagine why this is an imperfect place. When the solar eclipse happened, we were also standing up there, and like not just us, many people were up on Calton Hill because it's just a place to do that. Okay, and at this point we would be able to see Arthur's Seat, and again, you can't. Not today. So I guess we can do this tour again with you sometime when it's sunnier. But it's like I said, not today. This is the Burns Memorial. Robert Burns, another of the Scottish writers. Edinburgh has UNESCO cultural heritage for one, architecture. You know, the new town, you've seen bits and pieces of it, the old town together. The two together make up for Edinburgh's UNESCO cultural heritage status. But it also has UNESCO cultural heritage status for literature, and that is because so many really famous writers have either been born here or have lived here during their working times. And Robert Burns, Rabbie Burns as the Scots call him, is obviously one of them. And our English-speaking clients usually are able to recite at least one poem, as the Scots would say. I am not Scottish, so I can't. So you're losing out on that one, sorry. I might learn one, but maybe for next year. We'll see. Okay, putting on my glasses again. There are comments. Yeah, thank you for people helping out and giving advice on here. Yes, we're heading to Arthur's Seat now. So Edinburgh, well, Scotland as a whole is not exactly a great, like a big country in terms of population. 5.5 million people live in Scotland. And out of those, 80% live in the urban areas, which is the central belt that spans between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Glasgow is the biggest city of Scotland, with, say, around about 750,000 to 1 million people. And if you count all the outskirts to it, you'll definitely come up to like 1.3, 1.5 million. And Edinburgh is the second biggest city with officially 350,000 inhabitants. But again, if you count all the suburbs and everything which just lies around it, you'll probably actually now get to 1 million people living in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is the fastest growing city in Scotland at the moment. Oh, we're passing royal grounds. So, well, obviously the Queen is not here, not even Prince Charles is here, so we don't have to greet. But that's their royal residence in Edinburgh, Holyrood Palace. Here we're seeing, oh, this is probably going to be too fast, I'm sorry, I'll just do it backwards. Mary Stuart's bathing house, and there you see the old gardens, herbal gardens that the monks used to use, and they're now doing it as a schooling garden for kids, I think, for school kids. Right, okay, nice view, the old monk's house. That's the first tower of Holyrood Palace. This is the Queen's Gallery here. On the way back we'll show you the Parliament, because I don't want you to get whiplash. And yeah, so then these are the outer buildings of Holyrood Palace, which started out as a hunting palace for the nobles and then got turned into one of their official residences. So that's now it's a, you know, quadrangle of buildings which have a courtyard in the middle, and then these are the gates to the garden behind it. The garden is actually pretty small given it's a royal garden, and Queen Victoria always was worried that her kids find it too small and too encapsulating, so she made sure that trees were built along the wall to kind of hide the wall itself, because behind it you can find Holyrood Park, which is obviously a wider, much more open space. So when you look out of the windows of Holyrood Palace, you actually can't really see the wall itself, and it feels like you're part of a huge garden rather than just your small little private garden that you actually have. So here the dog walker population is getting, or numbers are getting higher. But again, you probably won't see much. And then I'll show you over to the side where you see some of the crags already, which are so famous. These are smaller crags. These are not the big Salisbury crags, but like, this is a miniature version of what Arthur's Seat should look like to you today, which it doesn't because of the problems we're facing at the moment. So there's many reasons why Arthur's Seat is called Arthur's Seat. No one really knows why. There's a Gaelic name for it, but which no one ever used, and it's not really, no one ever uses nowadays, at least. And in the old days, there's not much mention of it. But it's Art nor Seat, so they were kind of thinking maybe Arthur's Seat is, which would mean Arrow's Reach. Yeah, Arrow's Reach. And I like this one here though, and you should be able to see it. Sean, I'll pass the phone to you. I always call this Swan Lake. I'm sure it's called St Margaret's Loch.
Yep.
So, and I knew it, but we can't go up. Alright, so I think we're walking now. Yep. So hand me the phone back and we'll try to find a space to park the car, and then you'll have me panting at you. Or should we go the other way around? Because the views will be shit. Shall we try to... Sorry for my French. Shall we try to go around Duddingston and then... Yes, we'll try the other way, because by the time we've walked round to the place we wanted to show you, you'll be dead of boredom. Anyway, so we can't... That's a road there that we would normally take, as you see, and we could drive all around Arthur's Seat, but we can't do that now. So we'll try to do it differently. Margaret's Loch, I said that. I call it Swan Lake, obviously. Anyway, so we were talking about why is Arthur's Seat Arthur's Seat. Many people say it's because of... Oh, the swan is greeting you. Can you see that? Sorry, probably can't. Haha, he just spread his wings. He or her, I don't know. Well, now he's cleaning. Okay, we shall leave him be. So that up there, can you see? Oh God, you probably can't see that. Those are the ruins of the little St Margaret's Chapel. Mother of Malcolm, one of the early Scottish kings, and she brought Christianity. Well, she didn't bring it here, but she made sure Christianity was heeded better when she came here. She's an English princess that grew up in Poland and was very pious, and when she was married to I don't want to get it wrong now, Scottish king, it's not Malcolm because that's her son, she was really outraged how badly their Christian knowledge was, so she really made sure they learned more about the Bible, and she was also appalled at their eating manners. They did not use the knife and fork, so she made sure they did that as well. She would usually cross over the Firth of Forth to Dunfermline to pray, so that's why later Malcolm built the Dunfermline Abbey in her memory, and he also built a little chapel up in Edinburgh Castle. So these are all named after her, and she has been canonized retrospectively for all that she did for Christianity in Scotland. Alrighty, we'll try. So it's very foggy up there. You should be seeing the Salisbury Crags. So we're coming back to the reason why lots of people say Arthur's Seat has been the name, named after the legendary King Arthur, and it's his seat because this normally, again not today, looks like a seat. So you've got one big plate that was kind of crashed forward, with the crags, which are quite steep and impressive if you could see them, which you can't. But you also have like one tip of the mountain which is further to the back, so that could be the back of this chair if you wish, and then you've got the seat of the chair in the front. So if you look from further part away, I mean, sorry, you know what I mean, it does look like a seat, and you know, only a legendary king would have a seat in nature, so that's why people say, oh, that should be why it's called Arthur's Seat. But again, you know, there's some people say that's not the reason why it's called that. It's because of the Gaelic version of the original place, but there's not much mention of the Gaelic name prior to that either. So, well, we don't know. Nowadays it's Arthur's Seat. And you see the gorse is already in blossom, which is quite nice, in bloom. The yellow is starting to come. And I don't know, 2-3 years ago in the summer it got really hot. You know how gorse and heather kind of start to ignite when it's too dry and too sunny. There was a different kind of yellow all over Arthur's Seat because there was a big fire that actually burnt everything down. Luckily no one was hurt, but it looked very scary, to be honest. I was away obviously on tour that day, I only saw it in the news, and you were like, oh my god, because you know, normally on a summer's day that the hills are full of students and anyone who you can make it up there to kind of enjoy the countryside and the views. And if you then see that big fire, you're like, oh my god, how many people got caught in that? But again, no one was. Right, so the only thing is how we're going to park. Yeah, I'm not really sure how we're going to do this now for you. No.
Just go to Duddingston.
Okay, you know what, like Arthur's Seat's not going to happen today, I don't think, because even if we'd made it up there walking, what's the point? You can't see a thing.
Go to Duddingston.
We'll go to Duddingston, one of the oldest villages around Edinburgh, and if we might be able to see Duddingston Kirk. So yeah.
I think we're pretty safe in this van. We're not really spreading any germs or saliva while we're inside a vehicle. So those who are offended or worried about us being out during this time, I don't think we're really going to be causing any harm to anyone. We aren't an essential service, we know that, but you know, we're giving people a bit of entertainment while they're sitting at home, while we're in the comfort of a van which is completely sealed. So for those who are wanting to comment pretty much needlessly.
Right, so here's, you might be able to see that now, Duddingston Loch, which is also on a summer's day really quite nice to hang about. And we're making our way to, like I said, one of the oldest villages around old Edinburgh, if you wish, which is now obviously a part of Edinburgh. Crows are hopping away. Yeah, you see more gorse, which is quite nice, isn't it? No, sorry, that's going to be hard to see. Yeah, that's going to be better. Duddingston is also home to the oldest pub that's still open, the Sheep's Head. That's the sheep's head, but obviously pronounced in the Scottish way. And normally Sean would take people for a round of skittles there, which usually is very much like people haven't played skittles, like you know you play bowling nowadays, but skittles the old way, where you still have to kind of put your pins back together yourself. It's not exactly like you pay that every day, so lots of people really like that. The old Duddingston gates here now, and behind that kirk there's this lovely like hidden garden, which again in the summer when it's super busy, it's one of these hidden gems. You know, people know of it, but it's not like it's overcrowded in there. So sometimes when Sean has a chance, he stops here and takes people into the garden, which is, well, you can either get to it by there or it's behind this wall, and it's just really beautiful, and it's a nice calming experience. when you want to kind of escape the bustle of the city. So here's the Sheephead Inn. Obviously it'll be closed today, but if you were here with us, we would probably take you here for your well-deserved pint after half of the tour is kind of finished. And it wouldn't be as easy to drive through because you would have 1,000,001 cars coming your way, and you see it's literally a single track road by no means. Yeah, the Sheephead Inn is really nice. It's now, obviously it's changed owners many times, but it's really quite nice still. They've kind of kept the character, and yeah, they have obviously nice beers on taps, and the Skittles thing is in the back, so that's always quite a cool thing to do. Yeah, and you see the old village character is mostly completely still there, which is always a bonus for so many people. So say especially visitors from the States, you know, that much village character is not to be found very often in the States, so that's why Sean really likes to take people here, because it's completely different to what they're used to. Hello, little chatty chat there. So, shall we head back into town, I suppose? Huh? Okay, I think we'll just head back a little bit into town. I think we won't manage a full hour with you today, given the views are so bad. But we just thought, you know, we started this idea, we might as well finish it. And I hope you're enjoying it so far. There's a bit more of Duddingston. So again, for those who've not been to Scotland yet, you see a lot of sandstone. Literally almost everything here is built out of sandstone, because that's the material you find mostly underneath the earth. I usually explain how that happened, because over the years, while the tectonic plates wandered from the south of the earth over to the north, it wandered through many different climate zones, and one time it would have been a desert, so you'd have you know, lots of sand on top of the soil, and then when later on, like, you know, the earth's crust kind of moved a lot, things were pressed down, you've got all the different layers of former topsoils underneath what you find. So one of it is pressed desert, whereas like another one would be the pressed rainforest that used to be there before that. And that would obviously be your layer of oil, coal and gas that you find nowadays. And obviously this other layer is the pressed sand, which is now sandstone, which is still very soft, but obviously a material that can be used to build housing, and that's what the Scots mainly do. The only area which doesn't use sandstone, because it has a lot of granite, is Aberdeenshire. So Aberdeen looks similarly to Edinburgh and Glasgow, but the colour is a bit more of a silver grey. And you know, the contour is a lot harder, because granite is a lot harder as a material than sandstone. Sandstone itself is almost like a sponge, if you wish. This is why over the ages it starts to kind of attract a certain patina, which makes it look dirty, some say, but like has, you know, has a blackish look to it, but it also seals the surfaces. So it's a bit of both, you know. So in order, technically cleaning old sandstone houses is kind of, you're opening the sponge again and you just expose the little pores to more dirt. So you know, it's only a matter of time until it kind of goes back to having a patina, unless you seal it really well, but that's really costly as well. So it's one of those things. Usually people don't bother doing it too often, because it's just like useless in a way. But that's what you get, these, you know, sandstone coloured houses everywhere. Duddingston Golf Course, I don't know if that's kind of in view for you to the side. Behind that you've got Preston Field House, you know, old lovely, you know, big mansion with stables, which are now used for events, you know, functions, weddings. They always have a nice hogmanay party there, and they once a week actually do a Scottish show, don't they? Which is really quite well done as well. So again, if you ever come to Edinburgh, you need a cool experience of Highland dancing and Highland song and Lowlands stories, you should come. Well, we could book you into Prestonfield House for a night. Well, for an evening, or if you want to stay there, of course, you can obviously be booked in for the night as well.
So we'll go Pleasance, come home through the whole town.
Yeah, so we'll make our way home now. We'll kind of go through the old town, which we haven't passed today, so that you at least see the connection. Then we'll go back to the new town. Well, again, we'll try this again another time when the views are better, and we can kind of fling it by you if there is anything you'd like to see in particular. Passing by the Commonwealth Pool now. This is a more modern building, although at the back there you've got the Pollock Halls student buildings, the student accommodation nowadays, but a nice old school house. And this is the Commonwealth Pool, which is a more modern building, which was built for the Commonwealth Games, which were now like almost 20 years ago, I suppose. But they were reused for the last Commonwealth Games, which are now 6 or 7 years ago, and they were reused for that, even though the Commonwealth itself, Games itself were hosted in Glasgow, but the swimming took place in Edinburgh because of the existing pool. Again, this is this south part of Edinburgh, so we're not in the actual old town as of now. Haha. Quick shout out to Macau Kitchen if you ever need good food. They're actually doing takeaway. These are friends of ours. They do Macau, obviously Portuguese inspired Chinese food. Macau, it has been a Portuguese colony at the time, and so the food is in, like, it's a fusion between the two cuisines, and Kay and Hoyin run this place, and it's absolutely amazing. And they just texted us the other day that they're doing takeaways now, so if you're in Edinburgh and you want to have great food, which is something special, you order from them. Old Town. Again, Old Town is built on this huge volcanic plug. Basically, like the top bit where the castle is that volcanic plug. The rest has been formed a long time later, when the ice ages came along. The last one was kind of receded 7,000 before Christ, roughly. And the ice age, the glaciers couldn't really, you know, flatten the volcanic plug because the material is far too hard, so they ended up being cut open, and they furrowed away on either side, and they cut big ridges into the side, and then they left rubble and stuff behind the little plug. So that's why you end up having a ramp formation with two big valleys on either side. So we're currently in the valley to the south, and there's another valley to the north of the old town, and after that valley then the new town was built further to the north. So this is the valley, as you wish. If you look there, that's the lowest bit on the south side, and we're now kind of heading up a little bit towards the Royal Mile, which is exactly on the ridge, which is formed on that slope. And down the hill along the slope, you'll end up back at where we started earlier. Where we passed by earlier. That was Holyrood Palace, and we're now turning towards the left, going up the hill. And again, people who know this place know exactly what we could be seeing now. That's Calton Hill back up there on the back, but I'm sure you can't see a thing. You would be seeing the old watchtower of the old prison. Next to it you'd see a St Andrew's House again, which I didn't talk about earlier, and one of the obelisks of the cemeteries. And behind that, again, on a good day, you would probably be seeing, like, you know, a little bit to the side, but you'd see the Parthenon building on Calton Hill. But again, no way you could see that today. But yeah, so this is the Royal Mile. We're going up the way. We can't go it all the way, but a little bit. So for you to at least see a little bit of the old town building still going on. Again, on a normal day, this would be absolutely heaving with tourists and working people, but mainly tourists, I have to say. It's usually got a lot crazier. But now everything's shut. I think the fog makes it look really cool, given it's a ghost town anyway at the moment. So you can't cross further as a car. You wouldn't be able to cross any further than this, because the next bit is a pedestrian zone. And you know, in its heyday, the old town was obviously pedestrian only because there was no cars then. So this whole part of the town was built and created when oh yeah, nah, let's not be crazy. It is kind of open now, but we're not going to be absolutely crazy and drive through that. That would be. But yeah, can you see the crown of thorns on St Giles Cathedral? So again, if you've been here, you would recognize it, and you know how that's the center of the Royal Mile, if you wish, you know, where the big spaces are where people would gather in the old days, but nowadays as well. And this is Tron. This used to be where all the merchants were standing. You know, there would be merchants all along the different markets on different parts of the Royal Mile, but the Tron is named after the Tron itself. Is like a big weighing system where you could weigh goods, or mainly salt even. And we were always saying, like, if you misbehaved or you kind of cheated while handling your weights and stuff, and you got found out, you were nailed with your ear against the Tron, and then you had to rip yourself off. This is where the term "to be ripped off" comes from. You know, they ripped you off in the first place, but then they have to rip themselves off because, well, they had to stay there for a while so that people had a chance to throw things at them, eggs and tomatoes, I suppose, and spit at them in disgust for being a cheater. And then once they were free to go, they were not free to keep their ear. They had to rip it off, the nailed scenario. South Bridge, we're crossing over. So yeah, this is kind of flat because it's actually a bridge. We're not going back down the valley and back up again. Passing via Chambers Street now. Again, on a day like this, we would probably advise people to go into the National Museum. But this corner bit is the university, but after, like, shortly after the National Museum of Scotland starts, one of the most amazing museums I've ever seen. Scottish history, the lighthouse lenses, the cloned sheep dolly is in there, you name it. Like, there's crazy stuff, and there's always one changing exhibition which is paid for. Everything else is free for entry. Currently it would be the dinosaur exhibition, but again, of course, the museum has closed its doors. But even like architectonically, it's like a must-see, I would say. And on a day like this, it's kind of, it's not wet, but it's obviously foggy and cold. We would advise people to go in there kind of to warm up, and really you get lost in it. You could spend weeks and weeks looking at all the amazing exhibits in there. So a quick stint around Bristol Square. So we're still kind of south of the old town now, and we'd cross over the Royal Mile one more time on our way back to the new town. So this is funny. Well, this is the little church, but behind it, that used to be an asylum for insane people. How, you know what they called them, bad words at the old days. Nowadays it's a hotel. We always laugh, oh, is that maybe the same again? It's a lovely hotel. It's a Hotel du Vin. So they recycled the old wards and rooms into a really nice luxurious hotel. They have a wonderful restaurant as well. So yeah, if you want to stay close to the old town in a really lovely hotel, that's your choice, I suppose. And now we can see the university. old and new. It attracted yeah, the intelligent, the intellectual and the rich, anyone who was interested in good education. So it's a prestige thing, and it makes Edinburgh a lot of money as well, so it still gets invested into a lot. So that's why you see so many new buildings. We'll do it another time, but you know about all the gory stories you hear because of the body snatchers, and because so many doctors were schooled here in the old days, but still are. So that's why you've got your pub named after the same story. Pub named Doctors, which, you know, obviously you can't see it today, but if you went in there, you see quite a few exhibits, shall we say, of doctors' days in that pub, which is quite funny. So we just did that quick turnaround. So we're coming back towards the more modern bit of the National Museum. Again, there's a lovely restaurant on the top there called the Tower Restaurant. And again, on a better day, you would have lovely views, but obviously not today because you're not supposed to go there today. So we're passing, well, Harry Potter fans know exactly where we are. Greyfriars Bobby to start with. His nose is always golden because people love to touch it. They try to, you know, lacquer it over every year, and it just doesn't work. People just love to. Normally you wouldn't even see it because it would be like there would be a crowd of people around it, but obviously today you can't see it. And on the back there, that's Greyfriars Kirkyard. That was the newly opened kirkyard at the time when the biggest main kirkyard had to close down because it was too full of dead people, and the people would come up, the bones would come up, shall we say. And Greyfriars Kirkyard is now obviously famous because legend has it that J.K. Rowling, while she was writing Harry Potter, would kind of wander across there and had like most of the names on the tombstones, you know, it inspired her for the names she gave her main character. So that's it's really hard to find the tombstones, to be honest. You have to know what you're doing, and then still it's not exactly the same name, it's something similar, but yeah, the inspiration, you can kind of guess where she got that from. Okay, so now we're at the upper part of the Royal Mile, and again, if you've ever been here before, you know the difference. We've never seen it like this. Completely empty. Quite nice for a change. Again, we're not going all the way up because we shouldn't. This is where you're allowed to go. That's the hub. That was the church for the Catholic church for the Highlanders. Up the castle, you can't really see that. There's another church there, Johnson Terrace, where we normally drop off tourists, like even in the big coach buses. Yeah, sorry, no view to the castle today, but the end there, that would be your castle. You know, Edinburgh Castle, which obviously Edinburgh is famous for. Yeah, and all these lovely shops, you know, sometimes we say it's getting almost like a Disneyland now, you know, it's very much tailored to tourists nowadays. But it didn't used to be. Like, I'm here 12 years now, it's changed a lot, but not that much that it's not nice anymore, I would say. So, haha. Can you see? The ladies might like this. Man in a kilt. Not really a man, obviously a paper man, but he's topless. Something nice. Yeah, and you see the traffic cones. I can't know if you can see it on the Adam Hume. What am I saying? David Hume, Adam Smith, David Hume statue. He's got a traffic cone. You will have seen, like, the Glaswegians are always having fun with the Wellington statue. He always gets a little traffic cone, and Edinburgh people have tried to kind of copy that. So there was a statue of Conan Doyle, which made more fun because it was Conan, haha, nice pun, Doyle when he had his cone on. But the statue had to be moved because of the tram being built there. So now, right, so St Giles Cathedral, and yeah, we're heading back. That's Bank of Scotland building. Heading down the mound now. So we've literally crossed over, so we're now heading towards the north, and you can see the bridge is over now. I didn't really explain that well, but like I said, this wasn't supposed to be a tour of the old town, so I'll do that another time with you, but you see the little closes and wines that are so famous for Edinburgh's old town. The garden, and we're heading, you know, coming past the National Gallery again. Again, this is being refurbished in a way, they kind of opening up the lower grounds to let more light in. So this has kind of been boarded up a lot longer. Obviously it's still open, like not now, but technically it's still open for visitors. But it's been, you know, you can't really walk past it at the moment that well like you are used to. So Princess Street Gardens, sorry if you get whiplash here. Princess Street Gardens down there. So that was the little valleys I was talking about, the Northern Valley. Now we're crossing Princess Street and coming back towards good old Georgie statue, which is on George Street. George IV, who visited in 1822, and that was a big thing then. So that's his statue commemorating his visit. Yeah, we've almost managed a full hour now, so give us a first try in doing this. I'm actually quite chuffed we managed. So yeah, buses are running on a reduced schedule. You hardly ever see anyone on them, but they're really trying to help those who still need to get to and from work to be able to do so. And yeah, here they are. Like, okay, this guy not so much, he is exercising, but the other guy is obviously a food delivery rider. You know, these are our lifeline at the moment. And big shout out. Actually, on that note, you may have heard again, if you're local to Edinburgh, tonight at 8 p.m. we're all supposed to be at our windows clapping for NHS workers and anyone who is lifeline worker at the moment, to clap them for holding this up for us.
So what you've pretty much experienced today is what can happen on any tour. I mean, a lot of the time you have to go on the fly. You can either have something closed unexpectedly, or the weather can close in, or something like that. So regardless of the tour we've got, we always try to adapt and get by and give you what you've paid for. So we're not just going to turn around and send you home and say sorry, it's shut. We'll always try to give you a few options, and not always make things up as we go along, but try to find something else you're interested in to give you something else to look at. Because like you've seen today, you know, your whole vision can disappear in a matter of hours. So we've had beautiful clear blue skies all week, and in the matter of today it's just turned all misty. We don't have bad weather here, it's just different. So
yeah, we like it.
So hopefully it sort of gives you an idea of what we can do if things don't work out to plan. Quite adaptable and flexible, so don't ever be put off if the weather turns bad. We'll still come and get you regardless. We'll make sure we can do something with the day. Yeah.
And you know, if things fail, there's always your pint or your cup of tea, whatever your cup of tea is. Obviously, like normal half-day tours take you around for 3 hours, so you have lots more time. You probably have a little lunch break. So there's a lot more time to kind of relax and kind of make the most of what you could see. Obviously you could actually go into attractions, you know, once attractions open again, we'll try to even incorporate those in our tours and take you into things, but obviously that's not possible at the moment. But we thought this might be really nice, like as a feature, even once things are back to, you know, out of lockdown again, to kind of show those who might for whatever reason not be able to travel in person that they could maybe virtually travel to places. And you know, like I said, our tours are always tailor-made. Like Sean said, our tours are always tailor-made. So wouldn't it be nice if you could remotely control us and say, oh, I want to see what that is, or take me into that shop, or take me into that church, I really want to see what it's like. We'd like to kind of make that happen in the future. So that's where this idea kind of actually came from. Anyway, we might be a bit early here, but like it's 5 minutes to 5. I think we'll close this off. We'll park Sir Osmond where he belongs, and we'll wish you a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for all your comments. I shall try and type that as well.
Yeah, so feel free to keep commenting and just let us know places you'd like to see in the future. We can make up little itineraries, add a few of them up together, or we can make specialised days for anything, whether you're into your food, your whiskey, your history, or your sport. No, we can even take you to any of the big stadiums around here. We can go to Glasgow.
I'm sure Sean would love to show you paradise. Yeah. But even Rangers fans are welcome. He can adapt.
Yeah, you can sit in the back.
Anyway, so well, stop around. Do you want to quickly stop and then we'll give you a wave?
Yeah. Thank you for hanging out.
Bye.